Hey everybody, it's Zazu Cioce, physical therapist here with your Movement Minute. Today I am hopping on to talk about something that is pretty common to the human experience, which is pain. And, whether it be because you had a sports injury or you just stubbed your toe tripping over a toy in the house, pain is something that we're all going to experience in one way or another if we're living our life. So it's important to understand a little bit more about the research and the new knowledge that is coming out about how our body actually processes pain. Something that, most of us have grown up with, and even with our experiences, you stub your toe, that means you hurt yourself, right? That means there's damage in that area. That pain was there to signal that damage actually happened. So again, you have a ACL tear. It's painful. That actually correlates to physical damage. Or again, if you kind of hit your elbow or you hit your funny bone and it hurts, physical damage. And so most of us think that physical damage and pain always go together. But actually, there is research that shows that you can have pain without physical damage. So if you think about it, a bruise popping up that you had no idea where it came from. So that is actual physical damage, right? If you see a bruise, that's damage to that area, but you don't remember how you got it, which means that pain wasn't experienced with the actual, injury at the same time that injury happened. So, there are several other types of examples of things that would be physical damage, but not necessarily feeling pain with them. And then the reverse is also true. So, right, when there isn't physical damage, but we feel pain. So that could be something like maybe you have a cut or some sort of injury that happened a long time ago. We'll say, the body heals itself pretty well within 6 months of kind of whatever injury you have. And that's a very broad statement, but as far as inflammatory cycle, remodeling stage and phases, it does a very good job within that time for the most part. So if the body has healed itself, why are you still experiencing pain? And that's something that I dive deeper into with my clients who have chronic pain. And so they may have had a car accident 10 years ago, and they're still feeling the effects of it. Well, we know that maybe there probably was some physical damage 10 years ago when that accident actually happened, but it's been 10 years. Things should be healed up well by now. But they're still having pain. So how we can kind of conceptualize this is a lot of times we would think that pain, comes from the receptors of, say, like we put our hand over a burner on the stove. We would say, okay, like the fire is creating pain, at my fingers, and that's what's happening. But actually, what's happening is the brain is the creator of pain. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that the brain is the ultimate processor for the human body. It's amazing in its capacity and its capabilities. And so what we, for the example of putting your hand over a hot burner on the stove, your hand has different receptors all over your skin, all over your body, pressure receptors, so light touch, deep touch, hot, cold, vibration, sharp, dull. Those are just some of the receptors that are present in the skin and in the areas of your body that are made to interact with the outside environment. They just take objective information like hot or cold, and they send that message up to the brain through the nervous system. The brain then takes that information plus the information that is coming from your eyes, right? Like you can see fire, or you can see your hand on a hot stove, or you can feel again the heat from the actual burner. So it takes in all of that information and the context of which it is in, and it will create pain to change your behavior to keep you safe. So that's why we get a recoil of, oh, that's hot. Let me move my hand. So pain has a purpose. It is supposed to protect us from injury or damage. But what happens with clients and people who have chronic pain is that normal messaging system from the outside world through our receptors, through our nervous system, up to the brain, and then back out to create a behavior, it basically gets really, really good at creating pain. It learns that pattern far past the actual healing of that area. And so that's why too, sometimes if you have a scar, it can still be sensitive in that area because one, possibly the receptors are more sensitive, but also your brain has now an experience that area. So for me, this is a burn that I got several years ago. And so it can be sensitive in that area because also your brain has experience that, hey, this area, you got to keep that protected because something happened there. And so at the end of the day, it's your body trying to protect you by changing your behavior, by basically giving you something that is really motivating to change your behavior. And pain is a good motivator. It will make you do things that maybe you wouldn't do otherwise. So that's just a kind of quick synopsis about really pain science and kind of a new way of thinking about pain, and knowing that, the brain is so important in how we basically experience life, how we experience the external environment and how it interacts with our bodies, how our bodies interact with it, and even our behaviors. So when you have pain for a long time, it's important to know that it's not always just about the tissue in that area that we think, okay, well, the damage is there and that's what's causing the pain. It's actually a behavior that is driven by the brain trying to protect you by creating pain to motivate you to change your behavior. But if that basically brain output doesn't get checked after the tissue has healed, and we continue to stay in, the movement patterns and the thoughts or expectations of having pain or injury in that area. So that's like you sprained your ankle, you're limping initially, right? That's because it's painful. So the pain is making you walk funny, but that walking funny is making sure that you're not putting pressure on that area. That's your brain protecting you via creating pain in that situation. But guess what? Once that ankle heals, you shouldn't be limping anymore. And yet there are still people limping because that's a movement pattern that they have now habituated or they have learned, and which can create other issues down the line because we're not made to walk limping all the time, right? So we're going to start to get issues in other areas because of other adaptations due to that behavior change or movement change. So just knowing that pain doesn't always equal physical damage, and sometimes there is physical damage with pain, but a lot of times you can have physical damage and not have any pain, like a bruise that just kind of shows up out of nowhere. And then sometimes you can have quite severe pain and not actually have a physical structural damage in that area anymore. But it's basically the nervous system has gone haywire and is sending the pain messages when those messages should have been shut down a long time ago. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Added a little bit of physio flair with some pain science knowledge dropping today. But hope you enjoyed it. So have a good day.